the main character was what was his name? Damn, how did I forget that? I'm going to be playing through 6 at some point, but you know, Celeste was never. She was kind of the side main character. She was never the main focus, right? This game, I think they definitely intended on Ash being the main character.
Now it's looking like a good time for us to leave.
I don't know. They added Vaughn to kind of, like you said, appeal to a wider audience. And honestly, I think that was stupid. I think they should have left. And I play the game, so once I'm able to actually choose my party and go through, I tend to play the game with just Ash, like as the main character. I tend to use Ash, Pinello, and Fran as my main party, which is what I'm intending on doing right now. But, like, I'm not going to ignore Vaughn. And I don't think he's a bad character. I think he's acted out well and he's got an okay. But his storyline is inconsequential. It doesn't do anything. He doesn't affect the game at all. Right? All the decisions are made by Ash. All the major decisions are done by, you know, Balthier and Ash and Fran. That's all the character development is done by them. Even Pinello has more character development than Vaughn does. So.
The Empire will restore order here.
What's that you say now? Maybe I'll wet my blade on you before I kill Balthier.
Yeah, I love Final Fantasy XII. So what's interesting to me is I've had people like, so I played through Final Fantasy XIII before this, right? So I'm going backwards through the list. A lot of people compare Vaughn to Hope, and I'm like, they're completely different characters. Vaughn is much more sure of himself. He's kind of an asshole and brash, and like he doesn't second guess or second judge himself over and over again like Hope does. Hope needs so much help and support constantly in Final Fantasy XIII. Vaughn is much more independent in this. Almost to a fault. That's really more of what Vaughn's problem is that he's kind of a dick and he doesn't think about other people. Being tactless, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Like, he doesn't think about other people when he makes his decisions. He just sort of acts and goes. And Pinello constantly chides him for it. So.
He's in here somewhere. Find him.
That way.
Hey man, thanks for the follow.
What's that?
Time for the hare to follow the fox.
Huh?
The magics binding the door to the oubliette are quite strong. Too strong even for my talents.
That's why we'll get them to open it for us.
How is going deeper into this place?
What's wrong? You don't trust her. Fiera's noses are sharp. If she says there's a way out, there's a way out.
I haven't actually seen it. The last time somebody followed me, I think, was, when we were streaming before, and I updated all of this, so all this stuff is new now. So.
Look.
Ah, the prison repository of rested relics and raiments.
So our things are in here?
That's what I said.
I would actually pay money to hear Gideon Emery recite the V for Vendetta monologue. Like, I would pay good money for that. Yes, so Gideon Emery, I don't know if you've ever watched Teen Wolf, but he played Deucalion in Teen Wolf. He works a lot. He played Urianger in the ARR version of Final Fantasy XIV, although they replaced a lot of the voice actors from ARR to Heavensward and Stormblood and then Shadowbringers. But he does a lot of work. He has a great voice. But yeah, that's Balthier's voice actor. And he plays Balthier in, I think, everything. I don't think anybody changes that up. But they do tend to recast a lot of characters in subsequent games. But great voice actor, great actor, like all around. Just a very, very cool, great actor. But yeah, I would pay money to hear him recite the alliterative masterpiece that is the V for Vendetta monologue. Don't get me wrong, Agent Smith does a fantastic job at it.
There are more turnkeys than cut purses down here. I've had my
I think it would be really good to hear that.
Let's tread lightly, shall we?
Actually, I feel like that would be a really good set of content. Like, I could get a whole bunch of, like, famous celebrities. I'm not going to, like, sneak around. I'm going to kill everybody. I'm going to turn the speed up. That would be a good piece of content. Get a bunch of celebrities, voice actors to recite the V for Vendetta monologue over and over again. And just, like, post it. Yeah, like get Markiplier to do it. Hey. That would be good. Nope. This is the direction I wanted to go. Can you imagine? Voraciously, I don't know. I can't, I don't know it. I'll have to pull it up. I don't sound like Corpse anyway. Nobody sounds like Corpse but Corpse. AOC. This was, I don't think it was the first game that you saw armor like this, but it was the first time that we started seeing, like, the judges. No, we're not going in there. We're going to clear literally everybody else that was in here. And we're going to find all of the... Yep. Hey, look at that. There's a dude. Oh, yeah. Honestly, so, like, if you haven't... I don't know if you've played 14 or not, but, like, the Arcadians from 14 are basically the same as the Empire from this game, and they have some crazy judge armor. But I would love a set of Gabranth armor. I think that would be badass. You know what was really interesting? It's not Hobby Lobby. Michael's. Yes, the one that's close to us. Is actually selling, like, they've started having, like, a cosplay section now. And they're selling Warbler. And if you're not familiar with what Warbler is, it's basically kind of like when you get it hot, when you heat it up, it becomes this sort of sticky, malleable stuff material that you can shape pretty much however you want. A lot of people use Warbler to build layered style armors. Like if you're building like a big a set of leather armor and you don't want to spend a ridiculous amount of money on leather, and you don't have the skills to put leather together, you can use Warbler and kind of cut it and layer it and paint it, make it look like leather, and it looks really good because it has kind of a similar texture. And so it's so much cheaper and easier to shape into whatever shape you want. And so a lot of people have been making like big armor suits and stuff out of Warbler, and now that Michaels randomly has essentially full cosplay supplies, it's easier than ever to get that stuff. There's literally that was it? There was no other enemies? Come on. So is 12 your favorite Final Fantasy, or is it just one of your favorites?
You have grown very thin, Bosch. Less than a shadow, less than a man. Sentenced to death, and yet you
Tactics.
Live. Why?
So yeah, so you sort of live in Evil East. You're a big fan of the Evil East stuff.
Is that all?
Why not ask Vane himself?
Yeah.
Is he not one of your masters?
I got tactics.
We've caught a
I
leader of
haven't
insurgents.
decided.
She's
So
being brought from
when I
Rabanastre,
first started
the woman, Amalia.
kind of finishing up on 13,
that
because
be?
I'd started playing 13 because I had never played it, right? And
Such a faithful
I
hound
wanted to sort of
clings
play
so to a
through
falling
each of these
kingdom.
games and develop my own
throwing it
opinions on
away.
them rather than listen to what other people would tell me.
Throwing it away,
And I'd never
as
played
you threw
13.
away our homeland.
So I played through 13, and I got to tell you, there are definitely some problems that I have with that game. But a lot of the criticisms that I have seen leveled at it are not
Who's there?
problems with
This
the
the
game.
place.
I think the
mist
game
is
was
flowing
actually
through this
fine.
room. It must be
A lot of
going
people
somewhere.
claim that it's like corridor city, that
you
it's
know
just a
Imperials.
corridor.
Please,
Anybody
you must
who's
get
ever
me out.
played
It's against my
any other
policy to
Final
speak with the
Fantasy
dead,
knows that every Final
especially when
Fantasy
they
is a
happen to be
fucking corridor.
Kingsley's.
I did not kill him.
You
Is
literally
that
have
so?
one path to take, and that's
Glad
the
to hear
only
it.
path, and there isn't any other way to go.
Please, get me
12
out.
is kind of an
the
exception
sake of
because it's kind of
Dalmasca.
built more like an MMO, but there's like, narratively there's literally only one way to
Dalmasca?
go. It's
What do you
not
care about Dalmasca?
whatever.
Everything that's
Emotional
happened is
part.
because of you. Everyone that's died, every single one.
Hey
Even
Britt,
my
how you
brother.
going, man?
You killed my brother.
Quiet. The guards will hear.
I'm dropping it.
Pirates without a sky.
How far are you in your Skyward Sword play? I didn't get a chance to see if you'd streamed any over the weekend.
Spare us your quiddities.
Yeah, but he's a.
A traitor, I know.
The second of the harder
Stay here
dungeons.
and fight if you want.
Number 5.
If you can walk, let's go.
It's been a
You're taking
while
him
since
with
I've
us?
played that game.
We could use
But-
another sword arm.
I definitely didn't
you
buy
have
the
it.
collector's edition with the gold Wiimote. Barheim. All right. Oh, Ray, man. So it's Monday. Are you going to be streaming on? You're going to be streaming tonight? A lot of Fort. I'll be back on Wednesday. Yeah, that's what I thought. I know you don't. I didn't think you streamed on like Monday and Tuesdays. A a lot of there's a lot of culture in 14 that came from this game. Absolutely. Between 11, 12, and like some of the other sort of things. His fun stupid vest. Like, why is it made of metal? It's a vest. Like, it's made of metal. I love 14, Burbank. It is, man, it is such a good game. It takes ARR for a lot of people, like the first part of the game up to level 50, which is free to play, by the way. I think actually up to level 60 is, but it takes a lot to get into because the story is slow. It kind of progresses slowly. And as you progress through the expansions, Heavensward is so good. It's so good. As you progress through the expansions, like, the story gets more complicated. It gets, much more in. Yes, so one of the benefits of 14 is that you can play nearly all of the game solo. And so there is benefit to sort of having a group and whatnot, but you don't need any of that for the main story quest to get through and like actually play the game and stuff. But it really depends on like what you're looking for in an MMO. Everything, like 14, if you like WoW, you'll probably like 14. They're very similar as far as like structure. So yeah, so I don't know if I was on stream when I finally got to hear your sort of final thoughts on 12, Britt. That is pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. Don't get many visitors down here. You come scavenging for odds and ends, have you? On the way out, it's just back up those stairs. To smithereens, you say? Well, then there's nothing left but to find some other way around these tunnels. You'll need to get the power working again, for the gate will budge. The fuse to that contraption's up the stairs is blown. This ought to fix it up. You obtain a fuse, a tube fuse. Made that tube fuse from parts I found down in these very tunnels. It's good as any you'll find, and better than most, mark my words. Don't know why I gave him like a Kentucky twang, but that was what I was feeling. Install the tube fuse. Charge 0%. Japanese friend play through an imported copy. Oh. I was kind of torn on whether or not I wanted to play with the Japanese voices and just subtitles. But ultimately, this is one of those games where the voice actors and the voice cast is so good that I really like the English. 13 was the same way. I really like the voice cast for that game. Looks like that fuse did the trick, but that don't change the fact that it's dangerous down here. There's anything you want to be buying, be about it. Oh yeah, like, oh my god, the voice cast for 12 was so good. You know what? I think you're 100% correct. I don't think Xenoblade Chronicles would have ever been the way it was without Final Fantasy XII. I think that this game influenced so many open world RPGs in so many ways. Like, before Final Fantasy XI, before Final Fantasy XII, the whole concept of like a mark and hunting and all of that didn't exist, right? I think Final Fantasy XII did such a good thing for single player, story driven, like MMO style open world RPGs. You know, everybody iterates on top of that, right? Xenoblade Chronicles is fantastic and everybody should play it. Maybe eventually I'll play it through this. I want to get through these games. Like, I love Xenoblade Chronicles. It holds a place in my heart because it's made by a lot of the same people that made my favorite game of all time, and that is Xenogears. Yeah. So I'll definitely go through and do that. One of the things that I want to get done, and this is sort of a goal for me, is to play all of the Final Fantasy games, because I've never played 8. I think I started it at one point, but I've never played it all the way through. I've never played through 5. And I've never played 3. I own all of them, so I have all the games. But I want to play through all of them and get an appreciation for them, outside of influence, right? So some of the ones that I have played that I consider my favorite Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy IX. My second favorite Final Fantasy currently, this might change based on me playing through all the rest, but my second favorite one currently is 6. And then I would say probably 9, 6, 12, 10, and 4. Those are probably the top 5 right now. I'm trying to like decide whether or not to include Remake, because Remake was so good, but it is I don't really want to talk about it. It is, and it's like the same thing. Like, I don't want to include Remake, just like I don't want to include Tactics. I'm trying to like mainline Final Fantasy games. Like, Tactics is a near perfect game, right? There are some things about it, but Tactics is a near perfect game. In my opinion, Remake is a near perfect example of how you remake a game, of how you do it properly. And yeah, so I don't really want to include those, but like mainline Final Fantasies, I think 9 is definitely my favorite. I spent more time with 9 than I think any other game. And 6, I had Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo. It was one of the first games I ever got, one of the first games I ever beat. I had the Nintendo Power with the feature in it that was talking about it, because it was ultimately, it was the, you know, the first Final Fantasy that like really got like advertising in America, right? Yeah, by the way, I'm super old. So yeah, that's, you know, Final Fantasy IV, which came over to the Americas and became Final Fantasy II, did not get much advertising. And then obviously the original Final Fantasy that came over here didn't sell very well at all comparatively, right? Like as it did in Japan. So, Final Fantasy III, 6 was sort of the first Final Fantasy that came to the United States that actually had any type of marketing force behind it. It was in Nintendo Power. It was, they marketed it in certain game stores and other stores and Toys R Us and things like that. So, that was really the first one that had like an actual marketing campaign behind it, and it did really well. A lot of people had that game. So, yes. Hold on. Let me do some. let me do some of the. Oh, I need the Mage Masher. I actually think I can steal that later. I may not ever use that, but. Later, so I'll have him for that. Need shields 1. Do I not have a buckler already, or am I using leather shield? Buckler's got the evade, so we'll do 2 of those. Okay. And I have already too much of this stuff. Definitely need to sell. All right. Oh, yeah. Let me go over here. Faux HP. I need that. Need that. I think that's it, actually. Wait, no. Is that... Ally MP less than 30%. Yep. And I think that's probably it. So now I can buy Thunder, Mobilize, Fox. Any other spells to buy? Nope. Nope. Okay. We're going to see what we're going to do here. Equip. Optimize. Do I not have the battle harness? I thought I had one. I think maybe you get one soon. Nope. That's not what I wanted. that yet. And XP to 0 I don't need. Okay. Bosch is just a guest. No point in jumping into the license boards right now. But yeah, so my thought process for the current playthrough is I'm going to make Ash a knight. I'm going to make Ash my knight. So she's going to be a paladin type. So she'll have white mage skills and like as the subclass, and then knight as the main class. She's going to be sword and board. That's what she's going to be. She's going to be my main like party leader battle character. Penelo is going to be my